So in today's Wall Street Journal, Kimberly Strassel says that the heart of the Russia probe, the Steele dossier, may be the stuff of spy novels and hidden bank accounts, but she claims that it is, quote, one of the dirtiest political tricks of all time, perpetrated by the Team Clinton and yielding a vast payoff, she writes, for Hillary's campaign. She says the idea that the federal government and a special counsel were mobilized, that American citizens were monitored and continue to be investigated based on a campaign-funded hit document is extraordinary, especially given that to this day, no one has publicly produced a single piece of evidence to support any of the dossier's substantive allegations about Trump team members. So she is sort of knocking the legs out from underneath this thing. And that's the backdrop, or I should say the backdrop is the meeting or non-meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin this week. Joining me now, Michael Caputo, former Trump campaign senior advisor, and Michael Starr Hopkins, Democratic strategist who served on both the Obama and Hillary Clinton campaigns. Gentlemen, welcome. So, you know, My first question for you, Michael, is when you look at the dynamic of these two men together, and you've got this enormous backdrop here in the United States of this investigation, I mean, how can they even begin to have a discussion, have a dialogue? It's very difficult in this environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. And
I don't know which Michael.
Oh, Michael. Sorry, Caputo first.
All right, great. Nice to meet you, Michael.
Pleasure.
I think that both sides are pretty skittish about meeting right now.
Yeah.
I mean, while President Trump initially was saying positive things and had hopes for better relations with Russia, as we all should hope, just as the Clintons did when they came into office, just as Bush did, just as Obama did, the Russians, I think, were hopeful that there could be close relations. Things have gotten pretty chilly at the end of the Obama administration. But, of course, the Russia investigation comes forward. And the Russians, I think it's a third rail, I think. I know that the Trump team is frustrated by the fact that they're hobbled by public perception on the Russian relationship. You know, the people I know from Russia, and I know a few, are very confused by all of this. I think that also was borne out in the foreign minister's comments today.
Yeah, I mean, we watched Hillary Clinton try to restart the relationship. We listened to President Obama say that, there was no reason to think of them as the number one enemy, global enemy. And now that has completely changed in the course of this whole story that we followed so closely. But Michael Starr Hopkins, Kim Strassel basically says, look, it's all about nothing. It's all based on a dossier that is not legitimate, and that's a pretty fancy, calculated trick that was pulled off by the Clinton campaign.
Well, we don't know whether the dossier is true or not. Some components of it actually turned out to be true. In the dossier, they talk about Paul Manafort having real estate dealings and laundering money. That's turned out to be true. Papadopoulos being on the National Security Council while also having ties to the Kremlin. That's turned out to be true. So I think that this is part of the investigation, and we should let the facts bore out. But I think what is true is that so far we've seen campaign members be indicted. Members of the Oval Office now be under investigation. And the optics for the president are really tough, especially going into now what's going to be the 2018 election.
Well, the underlying issue, Michael Caputo, about whether or not there was any deal to lift sanctions. I mean, that's what this really all comes down to. And that is what we haven't seen any evidence of yet. But there's a lot of revelations today about Michael Flynn, suggesting that he entered into some agreement with the Turkish government to bring back someone that they wanted extradited from the United States, and they accused him. And this is all leaked. That's what I find very interesting about this, right? So they're in the middle of the investigation, and these stories are getting leaked left and right to newspapers. What do you make of that? And then I want to show Michael Flynn's response.
Well, I think first and foremost that these leaks are all illegal. They're crimes. And I can't believe that Mueller himself is for this. He's famous for being very anti-leak. But, of course, we'll never get to the bottom of these things. But at the same time, if General Flynn was being paid to follow policy goals brought up to him by the Turkish government, well, that would be illegal, and it should be looked into, certainly, and I think it obviously has been. But so far, what we're looking at with General Flynn are just apparently the lack of proper filing procedures and proper reporting procedures, and a lot of these crimes or alleged crimes are not really quite as big as people would like to think.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any indictments on the general or his son yet. I think that it looks like the investigation into the both of them is coming to a close. And if something is going to come out about the Flynns, it'll come out soon.
It'll come out.
That's what sealed indictments are for. And if any leaks have come out, I would say the grand jury, it's not illegal for witnesses in the grand jury to leak that information.
Well, it would be great if the investigation could take place, and then we could find out what they have discovered and what their case is. And I don't have time to put up on the screen, but I will say that Michael Flynn fought back, and he said, he put out a statement through his attorney saying that he never speaks out about this because he wants the process to play forward, but that these suggestions of kidnapping and nefarious things that were mentioned in this article are completely false. So we will see where it goes. Michael Caputo, Michael Starr Hopkins, thank you very much, guys. Good to see you as always.